asked Senator Bill Montford and Donald Gray both to speak to those. And what I'd like to do first is introduce Senator Montford. Bill Montford was first elected to the Florida Senate in 2010 and served as Minority Whip from 2010 to 2012. He was re-elected in November 2012 and now represents Senate District 3, which includes the following counties.
Go ahead.
I'll finish here. I just want to say hello while you're up here.
Don't go to sleep when he's reading this out to you now.
Yeah, pay attention here, and he's standing next to me. I want to be in. He represents the following counties: Calhoun, Franklin, Gadsden, Gulf, Hamilton, Jefferson, Leon, Liberty, Madison, Taylor, and Wakulla. Is that how you pronounce it? Wakulla. That's about all of Florida, if I get that right.
If you say Wakulla up here, you might get shot.
Wakulla.
Be careful.
Wakulla. So, as a member of the Florida Senate, Senator Montford serves as chair of the Senate Committee on Agriculture and vice chair on Appropriations Subcommittee on Education. In addition, Senator Montford serves on the Appropriations, Banking and Insurance, Education Pre-K through 12, and Rules Committees. Senator Montford also serves as the Chief Executive Officer of the Florida Association of District School Superintendents. Prior to becoming CEO of FADS, in July of 2006, Senator Montford served as school superintendent in Leon County from 1996 to 2006. The 2005-2006 school year was his 37th year as an educator. He's not that old. In Leon County school system, Senator Montford began his career as a math teacher at Bellevue Middle School in 1969 and went on to serve as a school administrator for 26 years, including 18 years as high school principal. He also served 2 terms as Leon County Commissioner. He attended Florida State University, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Mathematics Education and a Master's of Science degree in Administration and Supervision. He also is recipient of an Honorary Doctorate of Laws from Flagler College. Senator Montford is active in a number of professional and civic organizations and has received numerous awards in recognition for his dedication to education and the community. The William J. Montford III Middle School in Tallahassee was named in his honor by the Leon County School Board for his dedication to the Leon County School District.
Thank you. Let me,
Anyway, Senator Montford.
thank you. Let me, appreciate it. Let me tell you what I'm really proud of. I got 5 grandchildren. And the number one, the first one, is named William Jonas Montford V. Call him Jake. We just like that name. But I've got 3 more boys and a little girl, and they're just absolutely wonderful. And that's what I'm most proud of. And but I'm also glad to be here with y'all today. And most of what y'all read, most of that's true. But unlike some politicians, my true stories are true, and I'll be glad to, at the end of this, answer any questions you may have. Let me just start off just generally. People ask me, you can tell I've had a lot of jobs, and some people say that I just can't keep a job. You know, I just keep moving on to something else. I like to think that that's not the case, but the best job I've ever had would have been a high school principal. I look around this room, most of you, with a few exceptions, are rather young. So it hasn't been that long since you've been in high school. And being a high school principal is wonderful. It'll kill you, you know, but it's a lot of fun. But if you can imagine, in my case, I had 2,300 students. And if you can imagine being with 2,300 teenagers all under one roof all day, it's a blast. It is a blast. There's always something going on, and there's always something that you can learn. I learned so much from the students over the years. Learned some language that I hadn't heard before, some abbreviations I hadn't heard before, a number of different things. I also quickly learned that times were different than when I was in high school, and I'll get to a point of this in just a minute. When my first year teaching, I was a math teacher, and I was on duty, if you will, after school, during school, behind the school. And that meant, you know, nobody can skip school, or quite frankly, back then, you're not supposed to be chewing gum in class, you know, the big things. Well, I was standing behind the school, and I saw 4 or 5 young men down at the end in the walkway smoking. So I go down, you know, and back then kids didn't run. Today, you know, they'd be gone. But they did have sense enough, they threw, they were dumping things out. And I picked it up and I said, okay, boys, we can go into the office. So I walked in and gave it to the principal, and Mr. Holloman. And he looked at it and he said, you know what this is? And I looked at it and I said, yes, sir, that's Prince Albert, roll your own. Now, most of you in here, I don't think know what that is. A long time ago, when you didn't buy cigarettes in the pack, they were real expensive. You bought Prince Albert tobacco, and it came in a little can about this wide, about that thick, about this high, and you roll your own. I mean, just like they do other things today. You put in there, and you smoke it. Prince Albert, I said, yeah, that's Prince Albert, roll your own. And of course, it was marijuana. And I'd never heard of it. And he looked at me and he said, boy, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Bluntstown, which is 50 miles from over here. And he said, you've got a lot to learn. And I did. It didn't take me long. That was a middle school. So when I moved from middle school to a high school, I really thought I knew everything. When I became principal at high school, I was only 30. And wow, I learned a lot. But it was an awful, awful lot of fun. Then I spent some time, as he mentioned, as a county commissioner as well, and then school superintendent. And by the way, the school superintendent position here is elected. We have, in Florida, we have 42 elected school superintendents. The remainder are appointed by the school board. But here, it's an elected position. So I was elected twice to the county commission, 3 times school superintendent, and 2 terms as a state senator here. And whether it's appointed positions or an elected position, not only those constitutional positions or others, this is a great way to get to know the community, and it's a good way to be able to serve, to give back to your community. I understand what you really want for me to talk about is leadership skills that are needed and how your particular skill may be able to be used to give back to the community or to the state and so on. So let me share a few thoughts with you. I believe, it's my own personal belief now, is that I believe that God puts you on this earth for a reason, for whatever that purpose might be. For me, I always felt that it was to work with young people, to make some type of policy decisions or try to influence policy decisions and to do what's good or what's best for young people. Obviously, that's my love, and my dream was to be able to have an impact. That's what I was taught by my parents, and so that's my own personal belief. And I also believe that each one of you have a reason that you're here and a way to give back to society in some way. I also believe that everybody has that. Everybody has the ability. Everybody has a reason to give back and to participate. So how do you do that? First of all, I believe that you should do what you're most interested in. If you're really going to enjoy your life, you need to have a job that you enjoy. If you're really going to enjoy life, you need to get outside that job, and you also got to do many other things that's not related to your job, and that's not just your own personal family life. But I believe that each one of us has an obligation to participate back or give back to society in general. And how you do that, I believe, should be that's your choice and what interests you the most. So each one of us, I believe, needs to give some real serious assessment as to what you like, what you enjoy do, what drives you from inside, and then what really makes you happy. Life is too short. Life is too short to be in a job or to participate in activities out there that doesn't make you happy. I can honestly say that I always enjoyed the work that I've done. In fact, I'm one of the few people, maybe I'm a little crazy, that I always look forward to Monday morning. I enjoyed going back to work. I didn't like getting up early. But at a high school, you better be there at 6 o'clock because the buses start coming in. And if you get there at 6:37, they're ahead of you. So I always enjoyed my job. I always enjoyed going to work. I enjoyed being a county commissioner. It gave me a choice. It gave me an opportunity to go outside the education system and get involved in other levels of government. When I became school superintendent, it gave me again an opportunity not just to focus on education, but to be able to focus on those things that go on in the community and in the state that have an influence on education. And then when I became a senator, it gave me even more opportunities to be involved. As he mentioned, I'm on 2 or 3 education committees, but I'm also chair of the agriculture committee. And there are those that say, well, what's that got to do with education? A lot, because through our ag committee, we've been able to make some changes and be able to do some things that I believe is good for children and good for this state and good for this country. Let me give you a couple of examples. 3 years ago, we moved the school food lunch program from the Department of Education over to the Ag Department because I believed, and others believed as well, there's a wonderful opportunity to help children, especially those who are hungry, but also a good opportunity to help children and their families to learn how to eat healthy. So we're able to move it over, and it's been a tremendous success. Our food service programs in our school districts today, I believe, are the best they've ever been. We've got far, far more fresh fruit and vegetables, Florida grown, in our schools every day. They're here in every day. And then you look at other issues that we touch on in our Ag Committee. For example, I'm sure you've heard of the Apalachicola Bay issue where the oysters are and other seafood are in trouble. We've been able to hopefully influence that and be able to work with the governor's office and others to try to focus on the needs of the Apalachicola Bay, the Apalachicola River. We've also been able to work on Lake Okeechobee. The Senate Select Committee on Taylor, help me out. What was the name of that committee? Indian River Lagoon. By the way, this is Taylor. Wave, Taylor. Taylor came to us as an intern. I didn't like to have interns for some reason. It was a lot of work. But I took her on as a special project, and she was terrible. And we were able to straighten her out. Truth is, she was really good when we got her. She was so good we hired her in my other office as a receptionist, and I could tell after about 10 minutes that she was bored answering the phone. So she suffered through that for a while, and then we were able to hire her there, and then you did work for me down there, right? And then when it came to the Senate, she came over as a Senate aide and just does a marvelous job. By the way, her mother is food service director in Orange County, and she serves students 1 million meals a week. And her dad is I never can remember the title.
Director of Accountability and Assessment.
Yeah, he's smart for Orange County. So not only did I hire her, I've got her mom and dad on call over here if I really need some help, and they've been very helpful as well. And I forgot what I was saying. What would I do? Oh, Indian River Lagoon, Ag Committee, Indian River Lagoon. We were able to make a lot of progress. Senator Negron was on that, chaired that committee, and he's also last year he was chair of the Appropriations Committee, which is a good position to be, and he's a good friend to have. And so we were on that. I say we, Taylor and I, and we were able to do a lot of good through that, through our Ag Committee. So let's talk about locally, what you can do back home. There are so many opportunities for you. Not only in government, you got your local city government, city commission, city council, whatever you may have. You got your county commissions there. You've got pieces of state government there as well. So you've got the whole government issue there, the government opportunity for you to become involved and really make a difference. You can make a sincere difference in the lives of people just by your participating and getting in and getting involved. Because quite frankly, if you don't do it, the question is, well, who will? So there's so many good opportunities for you back home, wherever you come from. And then, of course, there's the non-government possibilities as well. You've got so many wonderful organizations out there that are helping people today. And just name off who you got. United Way, you got Boys and Girls Club, you got the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. You got so many different activities. There's nothing that you can be interested in that there's not some way for you to enjoy and participating. So I would encourage you, as young professionals, to go back when you get your degree and go back and become involved in your local community and your state governments as well. There are many, many opportunities out there and you can just do a marvelous, marvelous good for society in general. Let me talk to you just about all of you architectural students, right? Am I right?
Yeah, we have interior design and architects.
Interior design. Wow. I'm glad we're not meeting in my office. All right? Because you could, Taylor will tell you this. I came in when I moved down here, I said, I'm going to put up my own pictures. And it didn't work, okay? And then we had some guys, the sergeant's office, they have less skill than I do, okay? So when Taylor and them came in, it's sort of been a moving situation, if you will. I never know what news on my wall up there, but it's beginning to look better. So I got out of the way. Interior, now there's a difference between interior decorators and interior designers, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not even gonna ask you what the difference is. Both of you though make things look better, right?
Yes.
Okay. So somebody told me y'all clean up what architects mess up, is that right? Is that true? How many of you are interior? Now we're gonna call, I like to stir things up a little bit, all right? No one really said that, okay? But anyway, I can imagine how much fun it is to be able to go in, it's always amazed me how architects and the staff can sit down and visualize something and make it work. It's amazing. And we built, I guess, 8 or 10 schools when I was school superintendent. And I always enjoy working with architects. And I'd say, well, tell me, why can't we make it look like this or that? And most of my ideas weren't good. And, they knew what they were doing. But it was fun working with the architects because they could really help out. And I guess they had on staff interior decorators and designers. And so I didn't get too deep into that. But I did find out, which made sense, when we built a new school, the tile in the girls' and the boys' restroom. The tile was obviously blue for boys, and I don't want to say pink for girls, but y'all don't say pink. What are you interior designers?
Rose.
What, rose? Rose, okay. It's a rose color. And I said, yeah, that makes sense. For the first time it clicked on me. I wish I had known that a long time ago because especially at the middle school, boys would by mistake go in the girls' restroom, and they would swear I got mixed up and can't you read the sign up there? Well, I wasn't thinking, I was looking down. So now I got an answer. If you go into a pink or rose bathroom, you are in trouble. Don't come up and say I didn't read the name. You know that why it's pink and blue. But anyway, by being an architect or interior designer, it's got to be a lot of fun. I look at the Turlington building down here. I don't know if that's the one. Where are we? Right here, the big tall building with a sharp point. JLI Architects designed that building, and I talked to Jim Robertson later about it. And they said that they've given very few directions other than wanted to look modern and so on and so forth. And I asked him one day, I said, how in the world how do you sit down, and I am sincere, how do you sit down at a desk and you see something like that and you draw it out in all the minute details? So I admire you, all you guys and ladies that can do that. Now, let me stop. I don't run out of time without being able to give you the opportunity to ask some questions. And I'll try to give you the honest answer. That's why we have Taylor here. She'll cough twice. If I say something wrong, she's learned she'd cough twice. Okay? If I run out of time, she coughs 3 times. Okay? And that means it's time to go. Okay, ask me some questions, because I don't want to go back to the office. Yeah. Well, how many of you live here in Tallahassee? How many of you live in 11 counties, stretching from Gulf County to Hamilton? So you're my constituents. I was hoping there'd be more of you in there. Okay. By the way, we're having a fundraiser real soon, okay? So give your name to Taylor on the way out, all right? Where'd you go to school?
I grew up down south, but I go to FSU here.
No, high school. Which one?
I actually went to high school in Virginia.
In Virginia?
Yeah, hopped around.
You wised up, didn't you? You came here. Any of you go to school here? High school?
I went to Leon,
Leon High School. What year did you graduate?
2012.
12.
Yes,
So this is 15. Rocky Hanna, your principal?
sir. For 2 years.
2 years. You know why I hired him?
Because he's incredible. in every-
He said he's incredible. No. I hired him because he was so ugly. You see, I was principal at Lincoln High School and at Godby before that, and we always picked on Leon. Okay? We had signs up. Let me tell you, the truth. Here's again my story, the truth. I like Mr. Hanna. I hired him 3 times, by the way. Hired him as principal. He's a good guy,
He's
but he is ugly. Well, let me tell you how smart high school kids are. When you have all these, the games, it's a big, always big rivals. Y'all were in high school and you had your big rival, right? Well, Leon they had a bad habit of cheating, for one thing, so we always like to beat them. But we had this sign, I was rather conservative, if you can believe this. Teachers, men wore ties, and it was just real conservative. And I don't want you to think I'm an old fogey, but when it came to cheerleading, I always approved the cheers. I said, well, no new cheers unless I approved them. And the young ladies, we had a rule that you couldn't shake your top, and you couldn't move your hips back and forward. You could move side to side, but not front and forward. And so I always proved the new cheers. Well, they came up with this new, when we were playing Leon, it was Peon Leon. And, to me, they told me, he's a peon, that means, not real smart and all. And so I let them make signs. And so they put those signs up around the football field again, Peon Leon, okay? And I'm standing on the sideline. I've never been a coach. I love standing on the sideline. And I looked over there and I saw that sign, and I said, you could read that another way. And so I called some of the cheerleaders over at halftime. I said, okay, y'all told me that they're just a bunch of peons over there. But can I read that some other way? And they said, how do you read it? And I wasn't about to say, how I read it. So then I asked some of the coaches, assistant coaches, and I said, what does that really mean? They said, when the dog picks up the leg, you know what they're doing? I said, I got it. Okay, so they snookered me, okay, my own students. Then there was another time, we were, seniors come down, and they said, can we make these T-shirts? And, seniors loved being seniors. And they had T-shirts, or they had a mock one, it was Absolute Senior, ABSLOUT, no E on them. And I said, well, yeah, but you left the E off the end. It's okay. I didn't know about Absolute vodka. Yeah, I didn't know that. And they said, we can really do this? I said, yeah, well, we've already got them made up, and we made a mistake, and we left the E off the end. Can we sell them like they are? And I said, yeah, go ahead. Just make sure that, everybody knows you know how to spell it. Well, they sold it. I'm not making it. They sold these T-shirts, and of course, in every school, you got teachers who are looking for ways to be mean to students. You know what I mean? Well, she came down, and all, one of these old witches came down and said, do you know what they're selling? I said, yeah, I know what they're selling. I told them they could. And, well, you know what that is? And she told me. I said, oh, okay. So I called the boys back. And I said, all right, how many of them you sold? And they'd sold 15 or 20 of them. I said, go get them, confiscate them, bring them back, because y'all weren't truthful. You told us we could do it, and we've already spent all this money in there. I said, well, you bring them up. So they did. They confiscated all T-shirts and brought them back. I paid them, gave them the money back. But anyway, they'll pull a trick on you every now and then. Leon, y'all didn't do that, did you?
Of course not.
One time, they took a white chicken, and dyed it green. That's our school color. And turned it loose in the hallway over there. Of course, y'all came back and poured salt on our field, put Leon on the field, which killed the grass. Were you involved in that?
No, but I think some kids from Lincoln my year put marbles on the 3rd floor of our school.
I heard about that. It's confession time. Confession is good for you, isn't it? All right. What's your name?
Jonah,
What's your last name?
Greenwood.
Greenwood. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. Okay, any other question? That was good. This has been a good question and answer session. No question? No. Where are you from?
I'm from Clearwater.
Which high school?
I went to Calvary. It's a private school.
Yeah, I heard that school. It's a good school.
Yes.
Really good. Well, you got to be good graduate from there. All right. No other.
Yeah, my second grader and fourth graders spending a lot of time taking tests.
Oh,
in the
geez.
last year. I'm just curious. Do you have an opinion about that?
Yeah.
With that information, are they going to be able to determine future leaders in different regions, or what are they doing with all the results from these tests? Is there something that they're gaining from that?
Yeah, very good question. And let me tell you where we are with that as a state. We've gone way overboard in terms of testing. And it's not, I mean, it's coming to a head this year, but it's not unexpected. Some of us 3 years ago said when 14, 15 rolls around, it's going to be just far too many. There are too many things coming in. And so let me tell you where we are today. There's a bill filed this morning, 616, I believe. You may want to pull it up and take a look at it. And it's a compilation of a lot of thoughts between myself, Senator Legg, and Senator Gates, President Gates. President Gates was former school superintendent and president last year, and he's a chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, Education Appropriation. I'm his vice chair this year. Senator Legg is owner of a charter school and very familiar with education policies. Senator Simmons is our rules chair, and he has a couple of children, and he has an intense interest in it as well. Put real simply, there are 2 or 3 things that I believe this year. It's been said we're headed for a train wreck, and I believe that. One is we're testing our students far too much, especially with elementary children. Let me give you an example. Last year we passed a law, or it might have been 2 years ago, that said students will be assessed every grade, every subject. Now, on the surface, that makes sense. Some of us thought, now wait a minute, if you really talk about every grade, every subject, it's too much. But it passed. And so what we have today, kindergarten students throughout Florida taking 5 tests because there are 5 courses by number through the Department of Education, and it's a law that says that every grade, every course. So obviously, we're looking at that and said that's not the intent. We've got so many exams being given that it's not only has it overburdened teachers, but far more important is overburdened our students. We have students today whose parents are giving them medication to calm them down. I forgot what. Teachers are frustrated because they can't teach. They're beginning to spend too much time teaching. We've created a mess. But thank goodness this year we're trying now to undo some of that. Hopefully what you'll see at the end of this session, students will be required far fewer tests. Why do we have to give a state assessment when you've got AP exams, you've got IB exams, you've got the other types of exams, and nationally normed exams that can be used. And so you'll see far fewer tests next year than this year. 2, we've got the problem of the lack of technology. What we know exists in schools today. I don't know one district in Florida, from a technological standpoint, that can administer the exams that are required. We got school districts next door over here, Liberty County, for example. They don't even have cable service in most of their homes. They don't have access to the bandwidth and so on. I'm not a tech person, but I do know that in John Lewis's county, what they're doing over there is they're actually transporting computers from one school, from a middle school to a high school and vice versa, just to take the exam. It doesn't make sense. We're having to shut down. You got a computer lab, for example, where students are in there. We're having to shut that down and move those kids out for up to 6 weeks and move other students in just to take the exam. It doesn't make sense. That's a long way to answer your question, but you can tell I'm a little frustrated with it. But I believe that we will make some changes this year. Yes, sir.
You said you filed a bill today?
Yeah.
Could it be a resultant of our district where we had a teacher that refused to teach, to do the test? You may guess where I'm from.
Alachua?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what has happened, and if I run out of time,
This will be the last question, and we have our next speakers. Thank you, Senator.
who's the next speaker? Must be real important. Not as good looking, but I forgot which one it is was true. I look around this room, I don't know any guy in here that's any better looking than I am, even the one from Leon. Okay, here's what happened. Everybody's frustrated. Parents are frustrated, teachers are frustrated, superintendents are frustrated. So there are two different movements going on today. One is opt-out. There are parents, and it's a national movement, by the way. You can go on the national website and you can get a form letter. Parents can call it and say, I want my child opting out. The problem with that is there's no opt-out provisions in Florida. Legally you can't opt out. And not only that, if we allowed students to opt out, then that undermines the whole basis of the assessment program itself. Then you got teachers who are saying, I can't teach. I can't teach anymore because of the demands of the state. So I believe I know what you'll see this year is you'll see some legislation that hopefully it'll pass. We got anything to do with it, it'll pass Senate. Look, thank you. I apologize for taking too much time and cut in. Which one of you follow me? I apologize for cutting in. Where are you from?
Originally?
Yeah, high school.
Skyline High School, Dallas, Texas.
We got all these foreigners moving in here. That's good. That's good. They come to Florida. Your governor was here at Inauguration Day, and our governor, I'm real proud of him. He said, "We're going to take your jobs. We're going to bring them to Florida." I'd bet on my governor.
I'm here, so.
Yeah. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
All right, our next speaker for this session is Donald Gray. Donald is an associate AIA member, designer, researcher, manager, and activist. He's also our AIA Florida Citizen Intern Architect this year, our very first. He received his BS from Florida A&M University and Master's in Architecture from University of Michigan and a Master's of Architecture in Urban Design from the Harvard Graduate School of Design. He is very, very smart. Prior to joining the Fitzgerald Collaborative Group, he acted as research director for the Hyperbina Design Group, and forgive me for I should have asked you that sooner, and designer project manager for design firms in Florida and Massachusetts. Donald's activism in the profession includes days on the Hill during AIA Florida Legislative Day and grassroots conferences, a term with AIA Housing Knowledge Communities, and work with design and awareness outreaches to youth in disenfranchised communities. Donald currently works and plays in Tallahassee with his wife and 5, almost 6 kids. And he is also, if I may, he is the designer of this year's poster that will be handed out to all the legislators during the next day or tomorrow. And what a great, and maybe he can take a brief moment and just tell us a little bit about that. But otherwise, I'd like to introduce to you Donald Gray.
Well, hello, everybody. Just want to say my wife has promised. My wife is expecting right now, and she could drop any day, but she's promised not to have the baby until after Wednesday, so we're good. And actually, you know what? I want to say one more thing. My daughter heard that bio, and she said, "Dad, thanks for including your family in your work." So I'll say this goes out to my wife and new baby and my daughter. All right, so just a quick show of hands. Who is in interiors? I met some of the interiors folks. Okay, architecture. Okay, who's students? Who's working, interning? Yeah, right. Interning. Okay, good. I just wanted to get a feel for the lay of the land a little bit. First of all, thank you for this opportunity. It's been really great. It's been a blast this first couple months of the program, and it's been, you know, a little bit humbling. You know, think you really know something, and then you think, oh man, you read the qualifications for it, and you're like, crap, I don't know much. And then you go in, you're like, maybe I do know something. Then you sit in on some of the meetings, you're like, wow, I really don't know a whole lot. So, but no, it's been really great being a part of the program and just learning so much, picking the brains of Vicki and staff, which goes on in the background. So, at any rate, I've actually been tasked, well, first of all, with following Mr. Montford, number one, but also with talking about leadership a little bit. Be a little bit of overlap, but hopefully I can actually add some value to the discussion today. And actually, I was supposed to be talking on leadership. So instead of really, I wanted to take a different take. Instead of talking about forms of leadership for you, I really wanted to look at, talk about sort of what who you are can actually bring to leadership and the role and the leadership opportunities. And so my main three thoughts are really begin with your passion. Mr. Montford talked about that. Really serve like you give a damn, right? Serve like you give a damn. Serve like you really care. And also, you as architects and interior designers and any interior decorators around here, you have a lot to offer the world, okay? So let me begin with beginning with your passion. So what are you passionate about, right? I mean, think about it for a second. What are you really passionate? I mean, I know you're involved in a lot of stuff, and there's obligatory things you have to do really for your profession to sort of make it, right? But what are you really, really passionate about? I'll tell you what I'm passionate about. And actually, I knew after my first year what I wanted to do. After my first year of interning at a firm, I knew exactly what I wanted to become. A client. I wanted to be a client. And, but seriously, well, actually, as an aside, I mean, it's amazing. You really get to see the humility and the joy in the profession through your boss when the client walks into the room, right? Like, wow, I didn't know you were that nice. But no, but seriously, I really got a true concept of what a client is, a broader understanding after I'd gotten a chance to do some work for, really it was a couple of projects. We had done some affordable housing in disenfranchised communities. And actually that grew into helping develop what my passion is really advocating the design professions for children in those disenfranchised communities. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But one thing about developing your passion is, first of all, identify it. What is your passion? But also I want to talk about it's doable. I mean, you can actually, there are ways to find opportunities to pursue your passion within the field and also within these civic opportunities, right? And I'll say really three things. Number one, be there. You know what I mean? How will you make an impact, right, in your area of passion if you don't go, right? Get up and go, right? Persevere. A lot of times doors are going to be shut in your face, right? What was it? Lincoln lost, I mean, everybody knows the stat, right? Politically suffered 8 losses before becoming the president, right? Before occupying the White House. But persevere, because I believe opportunities, the door will open eventually, right? And also be informed. Wanted to quote our sort of quintessential sort of civic architect. Thomas Jefferson wrote in 1789 in a letter, speaking of being informed, "It is to me a new and consolatory proof that wherever the people are well informed, they can be trusted with their own government. That whenever things get so far wrong as to attract their notice, they may be relied on to set them to rights." I mean, and actually, it's a really true statement. Know what's going on. and you will be able to make an impact in your area of passion. And so there are lots of studies that have been done about whether or not leaders are born or whether they're bred. And actually, it's all over the board what people believe about that. But I'd actually make the case that in either case, the driver is passion. There's passion inside that's either developed or maybe inbred. But I'd say if you pursue it, I'd say that actually is part of the sort of the main stitch, if you will, the fabric of creating a leader. And one of my favorite books on leadership is by John Maxwell called The 360-Degree Leader. And the subtitle is Developing Your Influence from Anywhere in the Organization. It's a really interesting read. Actually, I actually listened to the book while caddying, so I would highly suggest it a long time ago. But the premise, though, of the book is really leading from where you are, right? No matter where you are, whether you're at the bottom of the organization or whether you're leading from the top, there's always opportunities for you to find a place to lead. And I believe as you're developing a passion or developing within opportunities to pursue or lead in your passion, remember that there's always an opportunity for you to lead, even if you're leading yourself, right? And so, actually, I want to move on to talk about serving like you give a damn, right? Has anybody actually heard of Architecture for Humanity? Has anybody heard about what's happened to them recently? It's real sad, actually. Within the first, actually, I guess was it last week, a couple weeks ago? And actually, if you go on their website, they actually have an actual official statement now. Actually, I just checked today. It wasn't there as late as last week. But the thing about it is, unfortunately, their main headquarters has to close its doors in San Francisco, right? But due to filing for bankruptcy and actually having to let go of some of their staff. But it's really a little bit of a moot point because even though it's a big deal, but around the world, a lot of grassroots participation from folks who were just volunteering their time actually created a number of different I suppose you could call them clubs, if you will, to actually do specifically what the mission had begun, and which is really providing great work internationally for impoverished communities that can't afford an architect, right? And so they came up with these publications called Design Like You Give a Damn. So I borrowed really their call to arms for today. And I want to read a little bit from those publications. Design Like You Give a Damn offers a history of the movement towards socially conscious design and showcases more than 80 contemporary solutions to such urgent needs as basic shelter, health care, education, and access to clean water, energy, and sanitation. Goes on to say that it is an indispensable resource for designers and humanitarian organizations charged with rebuilding after disaster and engaged in the search for sustainable development. It is also a call to action to anyone committed to building a better world. So I challenge you today, I'm sure you're already doing great design work, but I challenge you to also serve like you give a damn, right? Serve like you really care, right? And one way to do that is serving in your area of passion. Now, a couple of times they've actually talked about what those opportunities are, so I won't go through the list, but I will say, in terms of levels of leadership, it can be daunting because you feel like, wow, you know what? Before I can really serve on my community's, planning board or architectural review committee, man, it seems like, well, one, maybe I have to be licensed, right? And maybe there's so much competition for it. Well, actually, interestingly enough, depending on what municipality you're in, there are areas where you have to be licensed, and there are actually certain roles you have to hold in a city, but a lot of times there are loopholes where a student can actually slide right in, right? Because there are seats that are set aside for community input. And so there's an opportunity right there, especially if it's in your area of passion, to slide right in. And once you're there, you can make all these relationships with folks that are already doing wonderful things in your community. Types of leadership. Sure, there's, again, municipal boards, there are actually elected offices, but a lot of times you could actually serve and lead, whether it's through the AIA or through maybe even some area of interest. And I'll actually speak to that in a moment. You can actually serve right now. And also knowledge and or expertise. One way to get expertise is to just go ahead and get your hands dirty. Get involved. get experience, and that actually will build expertise. And I believe it'll build not only sort of an education in addition to your primary official education, but also political experience, right? And actually, I want to give a personal example. Recently, I was charged. I actually managed the RFP. Actually, was it? No, it was RFQ effort for an addition of a middle school, elementary school to a middle school in a surrounding county recently. And so we made the short list. Was really excited about it. But again, I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity to inject something that I'm passionate about into this process. And what I did is I was tasked with hiring a number of engineers, consulting engineers, to actually come to the shortlist presentation. First of all, join the team, but come to the shortlist presentation and actually present with us. But I say, hey, look, guys, listen. I mean, just tell me what you think, but let me tell you, I'm really passionate about not only designing the school, I'm passionate about these kids, right? Especially looking at what will I call it? The disenfranchisement of this community not only touched employment, but it also touched sort of what their education was. I say, look, here's a great opportunity to share what we do with these kids. So I want to make this project a learning lab, right? Please commit to me sometime, right, to open your books, I don't know if it's a workshop, whatever, or maybe a job site visit, to allow these kids to see what you do. Everybody agreed. It was great. Now, during the presentation, I made the comment, man, you know what, and it was really true. I said, you know what, I'd almost rather just do that part and not even the architecture, to be quite honest. And you know what, we got second place, but you know, I felt compelled. We didn't win the job, unfortunately. Actually, second place in a market that we just broke into was pretty daggum good, right? But it exceeded sort of my own expectation. But what I will say, however, is that, you know what, I felt compelled, and actually that I had made a commitment without even really saying it, to say, look, I care much about the kid, so much about those kids, that, you know what, I'm going to honor that commitment. So what grew out of it? What I did is I committed my firm's time to create what I called an experience in architecture for the children in that county. And we ended up working with their after-school program to not only introduce it was middle schoolers we worked with, to design professionals in Tallahassee. This project wasn't in Tallahassee, but to design professionals. We visited completed and job sites, and also job sites that were underway. And I'm very proud to say the one job site visit had more ladies than men, and they accidentally provided all pink hard hats, one of which I wore, in solidarity. And we also, for our next exercise, decided that we would transition from middle school to high school to try to segue through sort of, I'll call it an enhanced awareness program, giving them real insight into sort of what those educational opportunities are, and introducing them to deans and other professionals that could help facilitate their application process. Again, give a damn, and it'll go a long way, right? And actually, from that year, I'll say two of my favorite quotes from that year were, one, wow, I didn't know that, and two, wow, I didn't know that I could do that, right? And I'll close with, remember that architects, interior designers, you have a lot to offer the world, right? I want to speak to a concept that's put out by Drucker, that architects' creative problem-solving training and general education is an excellent resume for active participation and leadership at any level, right? I really like to call architects the general practitioners of design because of the role we often have to play on the design teams, right? Herding the cats, right? And I'd go so far as to say the same for other design disciplines, right? And I want to make the case that that's why we are here at the beginning of the week for Legislative Day or Day on the Hill or the like, right? I think it's more than really maintaining some semblance of cultural capital inherited, right, by the champions of modernity, right? It's, you know, the ones that steely-eyed, sort of luminaries of a golden era of architecture foregone, right? You tell folks you're an interior designer, you're an architect, you walk around with drawings, right? And you get to really bathe, right, in that cultural capital afforded you by the monoliths, the luminaries of time foregone. Really, today is about so much more than that, right? It's about making available our talents, right, our skill set to society and also really to our state. It's about reminding legislators of the perspectives and skill sets that architects and interior designers bring to the table. And I'd also say that it's about promoting legislation that affords architects and interior designers the opportunity to serve society, right? And actually on this board, I want to read actually a blurb under resilience and relevance. But AIA Florida architects understand the complex cultural, societal, and economic challenges facing our state. We are educated and trained to create resilient buildings and communities to improve the lives of those who live, work, and play here. All right? I believe it rings true. And so I'd actually want to restate the main three thoughts from my talk today, at least. Begin with your passion, serve like you give a damn, right? Serve like you really care, and you as architects have a lot to offer the world. So I'll ask you again, what are you passionate about? Thank you.